Okay, here's the biggest lesson that I have learned moving abroad from America. I used to lie in bed at 11 o'clock at night, exhausted, completely exhausted, having shattered, as you would say here in the UK, having done basically nothing all day except think about everything I hadn't done yet, what was still on my to-do list, all that stuff. See, I think that was the trick that was being played on me living in the US, was that the tasks weren't the problem. It was thinking and anticipating and worrying about the tasks that were the problem. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hickson Diaries. This is where we talk about my life as an American living here in the UK. Today's video is about something that has genuinely changed how I move through my days, and it is the biggest difference that I've learned living here abroad. The difference between doing versus being. Look, here's the thing that nobody really tells you about overwhelm. It's rarely the actual list of things you have to do. It's the mental rehearsal that we do. It's the replaying the list in your head all day long. At breakfast, in the shower, halfway through a conversation with someone you love about a completely different topic, instead of just doing the next thing in front of you. I didn't figure this out in some peaceful moment of clarity, by the way. I figured it out because I was genuinely miserable. See, when I first moved here 3.5 years ago to live in the UK with my family, my brain didn't instantly get quieter. I had all of the anxieties, all of the mental gymnastics, all of the stress and worry still with me in my brain from the United States, plus a whole batch of new worries and everything from living here in the UK about how I'm going to manage things, how's the child going to do, am I going to be able to find a job, blah, 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 all that stuff. It basically got louder when we moved here to Britain. A new country, new systems, you have all this new stuff to figure out. And it was just added on to all of the to-do list and narrating, my previous life and anticipating what was going to go well, what wasn't going to go well. It's like this 24/7 podcast I could not freaking turn off. In the end, I was able to figure out how to get through it. What actually helped me the most wasn't actually doing any less. It was thinking and worrying less about the doing. Now, I write everything down. Every single thing, no matter how small. And then I stop thinking about it. The list holds it, so my brain doesn't have to. And then I just do what I have to do. And I cross off as much as I can cross off. And if I still have a long to-do list, then I'm like, okay, tomorrow is another day. It sounds really, really simple, but it's actually super complicated for me for some reason. But what surprised me the most is that most days aren't actually as overwhelming as they feel at 7 a.m. They just feel that way because I already exhausted myself worrying about them before I've even done the task. So I get myself all worked up for no reason. And I think it's because I was somewhat programmed in the United States to just always be vigilant, to always be aware, always be ready to deviate or wear a different hat, when I'm at the word, if someone tells me to. And here, you just don't really have a lot of that. It just isn't as much pressure. See, they have it. There's pressure and there's trials and tribulations of life, of course. It's just not as much stress. There's not as much urgency on everything. There's not as much pressure for you to figure it out on your own. I was at my mother-in-law's the other day, and I was watching the dogs like roll around in the grass and stuff. And it occurred to me, if you ever really watch these animals, they do not really worry. They have their stresses, right? When their human is gone, when they need a walk, if they haven't gotten fed in time, that kind of stuff. But it's not really about like anxiety or anticipation or being overwhelmed. These dogs are not laying around and anxious because it's, already 3 o'clock and I haven't done everything on my list. Like, they don't care. They literally don't care. You're like, I want to roll around in the grass and I'm going to go and roll around in the grass. Or I want to sleep, so I'm going to go sleep. Like, there's no like mental noise underneath it. We're the only creatures in the world that figured out how to be busy and unproductive at the same exact time. And it's really ridiculous when you think about it. I do think that modern society, internet technology has something to do with it, because we have this like easy go-to to distract us and everything. And it's a constant kind of pull for attention. So I do think that that has something to do with it. But even that aside, I think we've just created a society and evolved as human beings to where like we have to stay on top of things and mentally revisit it 40 times so that we can make sure it's done. And we put all this pressure on ourselves. And it's really crazy. The British do have a better handle on it. In all fairness, you have a much better way of balancing it overall in a general sense. Of course, there's people that take it to the extreme as well. But overall, just as a society, you just seem to have a better handle on like taking your time off, enjoying your days off, enjoying the nice weather, having barbecues, all that kind of stuff. And so I've learned, I think it's not really about like doing less or not being productive or not thinking about stuff in the same way, because I still have the same responsibilities. I still need to make sure my house is clean. I still need to do the laundry, make sure the child is fed and has everything she needs, all that stuff. Like, those things never go away. You're never going to really get caught up. It's always going to be on your list. It doesn't necessarily that the list or the tasks get shorter or become less. It's more that the noise and anticipation around it becomes less, because you have more space to think it through, right? You have more clarity about what's the most important things, what's the priorities, and rest is mixed in with that plan. Complete what needs to get done, what's the most important stuff, but then let yourself rest. And if you can't or don't feel like being bothered with doing the rest of your list, then don't do it. And I'm especially appreciative now that I'm in the second half of my life that rest is part of the plan, because I never really did that. To be completely honest with you, I was always the person that, I couldn't just sit down and watch television. I had to have something else going on at the same time. And I'd be in and out, and that's really not the way to go. It really isn't. I missed out on a lot. Even though I was much more thinking that I was being much more intentional in the United States about my life and about taking time to rest and about being, present especially when I was with my child and everything. But I still had all that stuff going on in my brain. I just didn't always act on it, or I just ignored it for a few minutes, so I could focus on what was at hand, but it was always still there. Whereas here, it's not so much. And it's not because I don't want to get these things done or these things aren't a priority. It's just, it's kind of like, it'll be there tomorrow. My four walls are the most important thing. And if they're taken care of, then we'll figure it out from there, I guess. A little bit of a random one, a little bit of, just insider thoughts. This is kind of how my brain works a little bit. But it's definitely something I didn't even really think about until I moved here to the UK. So I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's definitely something I think about. I don't know. Maybe y'all think I'm crazy. Maybe y'all think it's just like hustle versus like work-life balance or something. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see y'all next time.